How much laundry detergent are you wearing right now? No, seriously, think about it. That t-shirt against your chest, your underwear, the bedding you just spent 8 hours rolling around in. You think they're clean because they smells like an alpine meadow, but they're actually coated in an invisible microscopic film of industrial chemicals locked deep inside the fibres. And one of those chemicals? The UK Health and Safety Executive and international agencies have flagged its family as a major problem, with key byproducts classified as likely human carcinogens. You wear these fabrics against your largest organ 24 hours a day. Your body heat warms them up, you sweat into them, your pores open, and your skin drinks it all in. Do the maths. I ended up down this absolute rabbit hole because I wanted to know what was actually touching my family's skin all day, and what I uncovered in the British supermarket aisles genuinely rattled me. Today, we are going to tear apart the laundry industry. I am going to show you the specific household name detergent brands that I will never allow near my washing machine again, and I'll break down the options that actually earned a spot on my shelf. Stick around because the absolute worst offender on this list is sitting in roughly 1 out of every 4 British utility rooms right now. It's highly likely sitting under your sink at this very second. By the time we finish, you'll find out exactly how major corporations use chemical illusions to trick your eyes into thinking dirty clothes are pristine, how the vague words on a British ingredient label hide toxic secrets, and how you can run 2 mind-blowing tests at home tonight using nothing but a £10 torch and a glass jar to see the hidden residue for yourself. But before we name and shame the brands you buy at Tesco or Sainsbury's, we need an educational foundation. We need to talk about how laundry detergent is actually built, because the industry relies on you staying completely clueless. Think of your clothes like a muddy car. Traditional soap rubs the dirt away, but modern synthetic detergents work like a high-powered industrial pressure washer mixed with chemical solvents. The core of any detergent is something called a surfactant. In simple terms, surfactants are molecular hooks. One end grabs onto water, the other end grabs onto grease and oil. When the washing machine spins, these hooks rip the dirt out of the fabric and carry it down the drain. Sounds great, right? Except the chemical shortcuts used to manufacture these hooks are where the horror show begins. To make these surfactants cheap enough to mass produce, multinational corporations use a process called ethoxylation. It's the corporate equivalent of stretching minced beef with cheap fillers. But this specific chemical shortcut creates an accidental, highly toxic byproduct called 1,4-dioxane. This stuff doesn't help clean your clothes. It is a literal manufacturing contaminant that causes kidney damage, liver damage, and is classified as a probable human carcinogen. Because stripping it out of the final liquid costs extra money and eats into corporate profit margins, supermarkets look the other way, regulators leave loopholes, and a little bit of it stays inside your plastic bottle, waiting to be baked into your underwear. And that's just the baseline. To make sure you keep buying their bottles, the industry uses 2 main psychological tricks: chemical brighteners and synthetic fragrance bombs. They know that actual cleanliness is invisible, so they engineer illusions. They load formulas with compounds that physically bond to the fabric and refuse to wash out, designed entirely to manipulate how light hits your eyes or how a scent triggers your brain. It's not cleaning, it's a cosmetic cover-up. Every single paragraph on the back of these bottles is a masterclass in marketing manipulation, and every time you pour a capful into your machine, you're paying to coat your family's clothes in a layer of petrochemical industrial waste. Let's start stripping back the labels and look at what's actually sitting on the shelves of your local British supermarket. We will start with the lesser offenders and work our way up to the absolute heavyweight champions of toxic marketing deception. First up is a brand that built its entire empire on the concept of value for money. Formil, the powerhouse budget liquid and pods sold exclusively at Lidl. British shoppers absolutely love this stuff because it regularly wins consumer awards for being dirt cheap while shifting stubborn grass and gravy stains. But how do you think a corporate machine manages to sell a massive bottle of liquid for a fraction of the price of premium brands? They do it by stripping out the premium ingredients and leaning heavily on the absolute harshest industrial-grade cleaning agents the law will allow. The main accusation here is that Formil's formula is a chemical race to the bottom, loaded with linear alkylbenzene sulfonate, or LAS. If you look at chemical safety data sheets, raw LAS is flagged as a severe skin irritant and is highly toxic to aquatic life. It is fundamentally the same type of aggressive degreaser used in car garages to clean engine blocks, scaled down just enough so it doesn't instantly dissolve your cotton t-shirts. When you use this stuff, it manifests as that tight, intensely itchy sensation on your skin that you probably blamed on the weather or dry winter air. In reality, your skin is reacting to a harsh, petroleum-derived surfactant residue left behind in the weave of your clothes because the cheap formulation lacks the sophisticated rinsing agents needed to clear it out. For a few pennies per wash, you are turning your clothes into a walking skin irritation zone. It's a cynical cost calculation that assumes budget-conscious fees won't read the fine print. Formil is essentially an industrial engine degreaser wearing a cheap supermarket uniform. If you think a budget supermarket brand is bad, let's step up to a brand that dresses up the exact same cheap, aggressive chemistry as a peaceful, eco-friendly country garden. Method Orchard Fruit or Peony Blush Liquid. You've definitely seen this one in Sainsbury's or Waitrose. The bottles look stunning, sleek, transparent, minimalist designs that look like they belong in an upscale boutique hotel. The marketing promise is all about chic, planet-friendly, responsible cleaning. But if you turn that pretty bottle around and look past the clever graphic design, the illusion vanishes. Method relies heavily on alcohol ethoxylates. As we established earlier, this belongs to the exact family of cheap ethoxylated surfactants that carry a permanent risk of 1,4,4-dioxane contamination. The manufacturing shortcut is identical to the budget brands, but because the bottle looks trendy, you are paying a premium price for the privilege. Not only that, but Method loads its liquids with heavy synthetic fragrances to create those intense fruit and flower smells. On the label, they hide a massive cocktail of synthetic compounds under the single, legally protected word parfum. According to data from the European Chemicals Agency, these hidden synthetic fragrance mixtures are notorious for triggering contact dermatitis and respiratory irritation. They put a tiny drop of natural extract in for the marketing story and then fill the rest of the jug with synthetic fragrance fixatives to make it punchy enough to sell. You're not paying for a cleaner, safer detergent. You are paying a massive premium for an aesthetic feeling. The technical term for this is greenwashing. Method is conventional, harsh chemistry hiding under a fancy organic sundress. If you already feel like checking your utility cupboard right now, hit that subscribe button because the sheer scale of the corporate tricks gets significantly worse from here. Let's talk about a brand that positions itself as the ultimate upscale, heavy-duty stain remover. Persil Pro Formula or Persil Ultimate Liquid. Owned by the multinational giant Unilever, Persil is marketed across the UK as the premium, scientifically advanced choice for families who want spotless whites and impeccable hygiene. The bottles cost significantly more than the supermarket own brands, and the packaging looks intensely serious and clinical. But the chemistry tells a completely different story. Independent consumer toxicology databases, including the Environmental Working Group, flag the primary ingredients in these heavy-duty formulas for high levels of sodium borate and boric acid derivatives. These specific compounds are kept in the formula because they act as cheap water softeners and stabilizers, despite being flagged in medical literature for potential reproductive and developmental concerns when exposure is prolonged. To make matters worse, Persil leans incredibly hard on something called disodium distyryl biphenyl disulfonate. Let me translate that corporate mouthful for you. It is an optical brightener. It is literally a chemical highlighter dye engineered to permanently bond to the fabric fibres. It does not clean your clothes. It sits on the fabric and absorbs invisible ultraviolet light, re-emitting it as visible blue light. It is an optical trick that deceives your eyes into thinking the fabric is whiter than it actually is, while the actual dirt remains trapped underneath. You are paying premium British supermarket prices for a chemical light show that stays locked against your skin wash after wash. Persil is a chemical wolf in a designer lab coat. Now let's look at the sneakies, most manipulative category on the entire shelf. The brands that target people when they are at their most vulnerable. I'm talking about Fairy Non-Bio liquid and pods. This is the detergent that almost every GP, midwife and dermatologist in the UK has recommended at some point. It features a literal cartoon baby on the front of the bottle. The branding screams safety, pure comfort and total protection for sensitive skin and newborns. The UK public trusts Fairy implicitly. And yes, to give them credit, they have stripped out the heavy dyes and the most aggressive perfumes. But look at the back of that bottle. Fairy Non-Bio still relies on a heavy petroleum-derived surfactant base. More alarmingly, it uses preservatives like benzisothiazolinone and methylisothiazolinone to extend its shelf life. Methylisothiazolinone was literally named Allergen of the Year by major global dermatology societies because it is such a massive trigger for eczema breakouts and skin sensitization. The manufacturer uses it because it keeps the liquid stable in transit for pennies, prioritizing manufacturing shelf life over the delicate skin barrier of a newborn infant. They strip out the parts of the formula you can easily see and smell. The dyes and the loud perfumes, but they leave the underlying aggressive chemical architecture completely intact. The front of the bottle promises a safe haven for your baby's skin, while the back tells a story of cheap chemical processing. Fairy Non-Bio is a wolf in sheep's clothing, counting on the fact that exhausted parents will trust the cartoon baby and never read the ingredients. That brings us to the absolute undisputed king of the British laundry aisle, the monster that sits in millions of households across the country. Ariel Original Liquid and All-in-One Pods. Owned by Procter & Gamble, Ariel is the absolute giant of the UK market. The television commercials relentlessly tell you that it is tough on stains, brilliant in a cold wash, and the #1 recommended brand by washing machine manufacturers. It is the gold standard of the British middle class. But here is the dark truth behind the green and white branding. Ariel's entire stain-busting power is built from the ground up on ethoxylated surfactants. Procter & Gamble is fully aware that this specific industrial manufacturing process creates 1,4-dioxane as a toxic byproduct. The chemical is classified as a probable human carcinogen, linked heavily to liver and kidney tumors in toxicological studies. While some states internationally have passed strict laws forcing corporations to cap and strip this contaminant out of consumer goods, the UK regulations still allow massive grey areas. Stripping 1,4-dioxane completely out of millions of gallons of liquid requires expensive vacuum stripping equipment, which directly cuts into corporate quarterly profits. So, they leave it in. They dress up this industrial-grade chemical mixture with bright blue dyes and a powerful synthetic fragrance, and they tell you it's clean. You are daily soaking your bed sheets, your shirts, and your children's pajamas in a chemical formula that contains known carcinogenic processing contaminants. Simply because a multi-billion-pound corporation decided that clean manufacturing practices were too expensive for their balance sheet. Ariel is the absolute apex of consumer deception, utilizing brilliant marketing to hide raw, industrial-grade toxicity in plain sight. And now, what it was worth watching all the way through for. We have waded through the murky, chemical-laden swamp of the big corporate brands. So let's talk about the relief of actually getting things right. You do not have to settle for wearing a walking laboratory on your skin. There are brilliant, radically transparent options sitting on British shelves right now that respect your body, your family, and your respiratory system. We are going to go from the most accessible mainstream supermarket switch to the absolute gold standards of pure, clean laundry processings. First up, the mainstream crossover that you can buy on your next grocery run. Icava Zero Non-Bio Laundry Liquid. You can walk into almost any major Tesco, Sainsbury's, Asda, or Waitrose right now and find this exact bottle sitting on the shelf. Now, some eco-purists get a bit nervous because Icava is a massive brand, but their zero formulation is a completely different beast compared to the standard supermarket stuff. It is specifically formulated with zero fragrance, zero colorants, and absolutely zero optical brighteners. Instead of relying on petrochemical solvents, Icava Zero uses plant-based, biodegradable ingredients, utilizing smart surfactants derived from plant sugars and plant oils to physically pull dirt away from your clothes. It is officially approved by Allergy UK, which means it has been rigorously evaluated by independent dermatologists who confirm it won't trigger eczema flare-ups or contact dermatitis. In practice, clothes washed come out smelling of absolutely nothing, just pure, neutral fabric, which is exactly what actual cleanliness smells like. The texture of your clothes changes too. They feel softer because there isn't a crusty layer of synthetic chemical highlighter clinging to the cotton threads. Cost-wise, a 1.5-litre bottle sits around £10, breaking down to roughly 27 pence per wash. It is slightly more expensive than a budget bottle of 4ml, but you are completely stepping away from the risk of 1,4-dioxane contamination and aggressive skin sensitizers. It is the easiest, most stress-free upgrade you can make this evening without needing to order from a specialty shop online. Just walk into Tesco, grab the bottle with the big zero on the front, and instantly protect your family's skin. But if you want to be a bit smarter about your routine, and you absolutely hate lugging heavy, dripping plastic jugs home from the supermarket, let's talk about the ultimate format play. Simple Living Eco or Earth Breeze laundry sheets. This is a complete revolution in how laundry is done in the UK. Instead of paying a corporation to ship heavy plastic bottles filled with 80% water across the country, you get a small, flat cardboard envelope that slips right through your letterbox. Inside are dehydrated, concentrated detergent sheets that look like a thin piece of paper. You just tear off a square, toss it directly into the drum with your clothes, and it completely dissolves within seconds, whether you are running a boiling hot wash or a quick 20-degree cycle. What makes these sheets an absolute winner is what is completely missing from the formula. They contain zero optical brighteners, zero parabens, zero phthalates, zero formaldehyde, and zero ethoxylated surfactants. The formulation is entirely hypoallergenic, vegan, and fully biodegradable. Because they don't use liquid water in the packaging, they don't require the harsh, aggressive preservatives like methylisothiazolinone that we exposed in the mainstream liquids. When you wear clothes washed in these sheets, the fabric feels incredibly light, breathable, and completely free of that stiff, chemical residue that conventional detergents leave behind. It is ideal for people living in flats, student accommodation, or small houses where utility space is tight. Price-wise, it balances out perfectly with premium supermarket brands, coming in at around 20 to 25 pence per load, but the reduction in plastic waste and plastic chemical exposure is absolute. The only real downside is that if you have a massive family doing 3 heavily soiled mud-soaked loads a day, you might need to use 2 sheets per cycle, which can bump the price up slightly. But for a smart, modern upgrade that completely cuts out the toxic plastic jug footprint, it is a brilliant option. That brings us to the absolute gold standard of the clean living world, a UK-manufactured powerhouse that independent experts quietly agree is the benchmark for chemical purity. Bio-D Concentrated Non-Bio Laundry Liquid. Bio-D is a certified B Corp based right here in the UK, meaning they are legally locked into the highest standards of environmental and corporate transparency. They don't hide behind corporate secrets or vague catch-all words. Every single ingredient is proudly and clearly listed on the label by its real scientific name. The chemistry here is entirely mineral and plant-based. They use potassium coquate, which is a gentle, natural surfactant made from coconut oil alongside sodium citrate and citric acid to naturally soften hard British tap water. There are absolutely no synthetic fragrances, no petrochemical brighteners, and no hidden toxins whatsoever. It is completely hyperallergenic, approved by the Vegan Society and Cruelty-Free International. Because it is highly concentrated, a single 1-litre bottle stretches incredibly far, meaning you use significantly less liquid per load than conventional brands. When you wash your clothes with Bio-D, the fabric feels genuinely clean, completely free of any chemical coating or artificial, heavy perfumed film. It rinses out of the fabric entirely, leaving nothing behind but the natural weave of the cloth against your skin. Now, because they don't use synthetic light-reflecting dyes, your whites won't unnaturally glow under a black light, and if you have an absolute catastrophic grease stain, you might need to pre-treat it with a bit of natural soap beforehand. It is also slightly harder to find in standard convenience stores. You'll typically need to pick it up at local health shops, ethical supermarkets online, or buy the massive 5-litre refill containers to get the best value, which drops the cost down to an incredibly reasonable 15 pence per wash. It is an honest, uncompromised product that refuses to play the chemical illusion games of the multinational corporations. You are paying for total ingredient integrity and complete peace of mind. Forget about trying to memorize every single commercial brand name on the supermarket shelf until the end of time. Instead, you need a bulletproof framework so you can walk into any Tesco, Sainsbury's, or Boots in the country, flip any bottle around, and instantly spot the corporate lies. Here are 5 non-negotiable rules for reading a laundry label on your own. Rule number 1. Scan the surfactant base and immediately avoid sodium lauryl sulfate, anything with PG in the name, or alcohol ethoxylates. These are the specific aggressive petrochemical hooks that rely on the ethoxylation shortcut, carrying that permanent, dirty manufacturing risk of 1,4-dioxane contamination. Rule number 2. Treat the words parfum or fragrance as a massive corporate red flag, unless the label explicitly states they are derived 100% from natural essential oils or provides a full, transparent chemical breakdown. If it just says parfum, it is a legally protected loophole, hiding up to 100 undisclosed synthetic fixatives, phthalates, and hormone disruptors. Rule number 3. Actively look for words like cocoa glucoside, decyl glucoside, or lauryl glucoside. These are the plant-derived, sugar-based good guys that effectively pull grease out of fabrics but rinse away completely without irritating your skin barrier. Rule number 4. Drop any product that contains optical brighteners or disodium distyl biphenyl disulfonate. If a brand needs to use a chemical highlighter trick to make your t-shirts fake glow in the sunshine instead of actually washing out the dirt, the formula is rubbish. Look for sodium percarbonate instead, which is a clean, oxygen-based whitener that safely breaks down into water and pure oxygen. Rule number 5. Look for genuine independent third-party certifications like Allergy UK approval, B Corp status, or the cruelty-free Leaping Bunny. If a bottle doesn't show these and refuses to list its ingredients clearly on the back, put it right back on the supermarket shelf and walk away. To sum everything up, the modern consumer laundry industry is fundamentally built on a massive structural illusion. Multinational corporations have spent decades conditioning us to believe that cleanliness has a loud synthetic smell and an unnaturally bright, glowing sheen, solely because those chemical illusions are incredibly cheap to manufacture and highly addictive to the human brain. To stop being a victim of corporate marketing, you only need to make one simple shift in your thinking. Actual cleanliness is a total negative. It is the complete absence of dirt, the complete absence of residue, and the complete absence of chemical film. Cleaning the clothes your family wears every day shouldn't require an advanced degree in toxicology just to safely decode a plastic bottle. The recommended brands we just went over might cost a few pennies more per load, but they are the only options on the British shelf that don't ask you to take a blind, terrifying leap of faith with your health every time you load the washing machine. Switch just one single bottle this week, wash your bedding with it, and see how your skin feels after 7 days of sleeping on genuinely clean sheets. Your body will instantly tell you the difference, and you will never look at a standard supermarket aisle the same way again. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today and digging into the truth behind these massive brands. If you found this investigation valuable, please share this video with a friend or family member, especially if you know someone who is constantly struggling with unexplained skin rashes, eczema, flare-ups, or who obsessively buys those massive scented pods because they think it makes their house look pristine. Let's open some eyes and help people clean up their utility rooms. I want to hear from you down in the comments section right now. Be completely honest, which of the conventional brands we named and shamed today is sitting under your sink or in your cupboards at home this very second? Let's get a massive conversation going down below. But remember, changing your laundry detergent is only half the battle. Right now, there is an incredibly common, highly toxic chemical sitting directly in your bathroom shower. Hidden inside the everyday shampoo you massaged into your scalp this morning, and it is actively soaking straight into your bloodstream every single day. It uses the exact same manufacturing shortcuts, the exact same legal fragrance